this is to me, this feels like a very non-standard rebel list that we're going to get a chance to see head to head against something we've seen variations of since the inception of the game. So this will be a bit of an experiment in patience for the Imperial player. He'll have a lot of ships to cut through, Jean-Christophe, to seal a win. None of the rebel ships are awfully valuable except for Miranda herself, and it would be difficult to take down with 9 combined.
Yeah, with that slam move, she's going to be a very, very slippery target. So I'm wondering if, of course, I don't want to leave until last.
No.
She does have low agility and no real to speak of. So if Jean-Christophe can catch her and burn her down quickly, that might help a lot. The danger there is that she slips a few remaining, slams out of the field, and returns to haunt him in later rounds. But every turn that Miranda's slamming is a turn she's not spitting out that twin laser turn. So we are going to see a really interesting game here, and we're going to learn a lot from what targets Jean-Christophe chooses to go after.
I think the main the flavor of the game is going to be chosen really quickly. It looks like Ira is going to let that K-wing hang out on the outside. This looks like a very typical late game bid for me. Yeah, we're in for an interesting match. I hope Jean-Christophe can really cut through and take Miranda out. Vice versa, I hope Miranda can just run circles around those TIE fighters, both with that slam action and nice support from her bandit friends and that Y-wing out on the outside. What does that Y-wing have on it? I think I missed that. Y-wing on has got a twin laser turret too.
It's the same setup that we saw Paul Heaver run, and I predicted would be a popular choice. It's that 26-point Gold Squadron Y-wing with a twin laser turret, the BTLA-4 title, and R3A2. So it can drop 2 stress around on enemy ships. And with the way that it's set up, it can just be such a devastating control ship. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I think Jean-Christophe is going to want to take out as quickly as he can. But we'll see how this plays out. I suspect the Rebels will want to lure those Academy pilots through the debris field in the middle of the board there.
So we've got the single Academy pilot peeling off, just trying to cut the distance between his corner of setup and from Jean-Christophe's corner of setup and Ira's corner of setup. Then we've got the bandit squadrons who are going to deploy next, charging through that debris field a little bit.
It looks like Jean-Christophe is going to move his whole formation in a very sharp turn to the left to try to engage this rebel force as quickly as possible. And that's a smart play. The more the game goes on, the more stress is going to pile up, the more openings Miranda's going to have to get behind the formation and really dog it with TLTs. Every good TIE Swarm player knows that initial engagement is crucial, because that is when you use the crushing weight of your offense against their defense. That's the alpha strike. You need to get that going, and that's what we saw last game with the mini swarm. They were able to strip almost half the health off of 43 point YT-2400. So that initial engagement, that's when you've got to burn the enemy down. That's when you've got to really do work. And I think that Jean-Christophe is set up to do so. Those crack shots are hugely useful, especially against the Rebel list, which doesn't have much agility to begin with. Mm-hmm. So I fully expect this to be, this is going to be a decisive opening engagement. If Jean-Christophe can blow up enough stuff, he's going to have a huge advantage. If, conversely, Ira can kind of skirt the edges, come in at interesting angles, let his stress do some work, and slip through that net, he's going to open up the game and have a much better shot at winning it. It's all going to come down to this initial engagement. But, Jean-Christophe has been flying, I want to say, at least the last 2 Worlds, TIE Swarm exclusively. I believe both of his Nationals wins were with some variation on TIE Swarm as well. So he certainly knows what he's doing, and it is not going to be an easy net for Ira to escape. Crackshot and Black Squadron, a very popular choice this year. That's a new strategy that was opened up by Wave 7, a new upgrade card. Already we've seen it in large numbers twice now. I have a feeling it's going to continue to be a very effective EPT.
Is that gratifying for you to see these relatively new upgrades see so much use early on in the meta?
Yeah, I think it is because, we don't ever want the game to stand still. We don't want to invalidate old strategies, but it's nice to see an evolution. This is very similar to the Howlrunner Swarm of yore, but it eschews Howlrunner for, 4 extra points to spread throughout the rest of the squad. That Crackshot kind of acts like a mini Howlrunner.
Right.
And it's not as dependent on keeping her alive.
Sure.
So it's cool to see an evolution of an archetype and something played a little bit differently. It's the same basic concept, but if the game didn't change, if it didn't evolve, then there wouldn't be any reason to release new content. So it's especially gratifying, I think, when a new upgrade card changes the way an old ship is played. You saw a fair amount of Black Squadron in days past with draw their fire, that kind of thing. But I think this is the first time we've seen Black Squadron as a force to be reckoned with in its own right. For 15 points, you've got a pretty nasty little ship on your hands. It's cheap, you can bring a lot of them, and it can get over its major disadvantage, which is that low offense,
right,
by having a way to crack through high defense. So I think it's cool to see that in numbers, and it's obviously, these are some top players, so it's obviously a good choice or they wouldn't be running it.
Right.
But the TIE Fighter, I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's the shark of X-Wing. It started strong and it stayed strong. It's just a good ship.
We're just seeing the shark getting a few new teeth.
Yeah, that was a good way to put it. They're going to take their time with this opening engagement because they know what we know. They know that it is incredibly crucial for this to go well. Both of them need a good opening, and I think Jean-Christophe has an interesting plan. The other thing that dropping Howlrunner allows him to do is he's not chained to that formation.
No.
Each and every one of these ties are independent operators.
I'm really, really curious. And frankly, a little excited to see him split this swarm up into 2 sections. It doesn't necessarily hold to previous conventional strategy, keeping the swarm together in one block and using concentrated fire of 6, 7, or 8 TIE fighters on one target, but it does create 2 very different forces, 2 very threatening forces for Ira to try to handle coming at him from different angles.
I mean, the thing about this is that he could deploy those ties in any way he wants. He could have spread them loosely across the board. Without Howlrunner, there's no explicit game reason to fly in formation. But there are still some really good reasons to do so, and I think the reason he's doing it is that's going to allow him to concentrate his fire. And that's what ties need to do to be successful. So even though he's not getting, a range 1 reroll bonus from a ship like Howlrunner or that kind of thing, by flying in formation like this, he's still going to be able to bring everything to bear at the same range band. He's going to be able to focus down individual targets, which is key to winning. You've got to take him out of the game. So, formation flying remains important even when you don't have those abilities that specifically reward it. So I think all of the training that Jean-Christophe has done over the years to be able to fly these type formations, know exactly what maneuvers will put him where, what turns to put on each of his ships in order to come in with that perfect angle. That's going to see him in good stead no matter what he's playing. And the absence of Howl Runner lets him be more flexible.
Sure.
So he can stay in formation as long as it's advantageous. And as soon as it's not advantageous anymore, those ties can split up in a cloud and go wherever they want, which is going to be interesting to see. I suspect he'll hold ranks for the initial joust, and then we're going to see a free-for-all.
That's a strategy I loved to adopt back in the earlier times of X-Wing, when we had lists like Sinister Six, the 6 named TIE fighter pilots, all independent, all with their own special abilities, flying them all over the place, so that they just seemed like this wide, threatening sort of wave. Although it is quite a bit scarier in some respects to see TIE fighters flying in formation and turning with each other, just like they're doing now.
Oh, it's menacing, and Jean-Christophe has got a really nice paint scheme going on for his ties. They're all beautifully painted up and very intimidating to see across the table from you, to be sure. Yeah, there's nothing quite like seeing that TIE form swoop into position. It's a beautiful thing to watch. It really is.
We've this is round 3, and we've seen them go from this very sort of rigid 2 forward, 3 across a fourth, lineup, and then they split into blocks, and now they're in this diamond formation, sprinting across the board at these bandit squadrons. I wouldn't feel good if I were in the pilot seat of a bandit Z95.
No, I think that's the last place you want to be, is in one of those Z95s facing 7 TIE fighters. Maybe rethinking his choices. But that's what makes those Rebel pilots so heroic. They're willing to do this, to put themselves in this position.
They know that glory goes to the underdog.
Absolutely. I wonder if we're going to see a slam here from Miranda, or if he's going to be content to hang back.
I was really curious to see where Miranda was going to end up in this round. I did not necessarily expect her to turn in. I was kind of expecting her to run up along the side just a little bit more and try to flank.
Well, I think that's the usual Miranda strategy, but remember, he's got Tactician on this particular Miranda. What he's going to try to engineer is a range 2 twin laser turret attack.
Sure.
Drop 2 stress on one of those ties and take it out of the action. And to do that, he needs to keep firing arc on. That's one of the cool things that I like about these strategies is they are turret ships. They do have the ability to do out-of-arc fire, but there are some really good game reasons to get to line up that in-arc shot. And that's what makes the game interesting, that maneuverability. I'm giving up my out-of-arc firepower, but I'm gaining 2 stress on if I can pin something in that perfect range band. So I think that's a really interesting strategy. I don't think I've ever seen a Miranda kitted out this way, and I can see why you would do it, why you would build her this way. She's not cheap. 7 points, but she brings a lot of hit points, a lot of flexibility, and a huge amount of control to the game, which is very cool.
We're seeing a fairly light exchange. TIE fighters shooting at that lead bandit squadron pilot.
Yep.
No real damage being levied.
Might have dropped a shield. I can't tell, but in any case, certainly nothing substantial.
But you always got to take a chance, just in case you can get a lucky damage and create a soft point for other ships to take advantage of.
So some light fire here. I suspect that this next round is going to be the big round, with all the dice, all the firepower. They're set up for a joust here, and I suspect that we'll probably see first blood. We'll see one of those ships go down. But everything so far looks like it is still full health, so no damage is done as of yet.
Do you think Miranda's going to cut in inside of that debris field, or do you think she's going to bank out and stay on the outside?
I think she's going to cut in. I think she's going to try to use that Tactician. I think that's Ira's whole strategy here. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing about Miranda is she can go through this opening joust. She's going to try to stay far enough back to not take too much firepower, I think. She's going to drop some stress, and then next turn, she can either just turn away from the battle and start using her turret, or she can slam out of there if she's in a really bad place. And that's the advantage of slam. It's not an every turn maneuver, but it's there when you need it, and it can really be an endgame monster.
Right.
Nothing more in a fight than endgame Miranda. He's R2D2 or C3PO or any of the really nasty defensive stuff. But she can recover shields on her own, and with a twin laser turret, she can get a shield every single time. She's a huge problem in the end game. So it's those Jean-Christophe try to get her in the initial joust, or does he try to take out the rest of the list with the understanding that her offense is going to be high enough to claw him out of that hole? I don't think he's going to chase Miranda. I think the bait and switch that Ira's hoping he'll take. If I was in Jean-Christophe's shoes, I think that I would just try to blow up everything else and deal with Miranda if possible.
Sure.
But, that could very well be the wrong approach. That's the difficult thing at this level of play. There's no easy decision. No decision that's objectively right or wrong.
Well, and you can't lock a strategy in from the beginning of the game.
No, you have to be flexible.
Expect it to hold through. You may love to know what kind of list you're getting to play against. So in the tournament setup, that's not true. You don't know what
so many lists today.
You don't know what you're going to fly against. We've seen a lot of variety today. Yes, there may have been 2 lists of fighters, but they are acting and moving and being piloted very, very differently.
Absolutely. Last time we had a powerhouse Vader, but a lot of eggs in that basket. 35 points for him. Yeah, he did work. He was done. There weren't there anymore for the rest of the squad.
The successful players are going to be the ones that start with a loose idea of where they want to go and how they want to do it, and then are able to quickly change and adapt based on the unforeseen, the ship combination they hadn't seen yet, or brain out of asteroids that kept them from moving a certain way. You just have to be prepared to see everything in this game because there are so many options.
Absolutely. To be tactically flexible. This game, unlike any other, can change so dramatically round to round. So you have to come in with a good plan and a good list, but you have to be able to change your plan if it's not applicable for the situation anymore. At some point, you got to mix it up, or you're going to be stuck into a strategy that's no longer the most effective. So we're definitely going to see a major joust here, and I think that that high pilot skill in Jean-Christophe's Swarm is going to really do wonders for him, because if his luck is even average, he's going to be able to drop some ships before they even get a shot, especially with Crackshot in play. So I think this joust is going to be very favorable for Jean-Christophe here. This is going to be start playing the Imperial March, because there's going to be a lot of red dice coming from the Empire side of the board.
The 5 Black Squadron pilots each have a pilot skill of 4, right?
Yep.
And they're going to shoot before 4 of...
They're going to shoot before everything in his list except for Miranda. So yeah, all 4 of his low pilot skill ships. And so will the Obsidian. The Academy is the only simultaneous fire. So he's going to have to bear Miranda literally can't take out a TIE fighter. That's the downside of that twin laser turret. There's no way that she's going to drop one. So all 7 of Jean-Christophe's ships are going to fire, guaranteed. And that is devastating.
And it looks
and they are going to be right in his face. Absolutely. Alpha Strike City coming up.
This is going to be a slugfest.
Oh, yeah. It's going to get messy fast. And then we're going to have an absolute, just a furball in the middle as these ships desperately try to disengage from this initial pass. It's going to be a very interesting game. That is just a nasty formation.
I love it. I love how that looks. I mean, I'm not envying Ira at all, but in his position, I like to be the guy who kind of thumbs my nose at the odds and put some serious hurt on his ship he didn't expect me to, and pull something really weird out. That is an interesting move by Miranda.
He did not want Miranda to take the heat from that. Of course, he's not going to get use out of Tactician and the TLT in that way, and he is going to be shooting obstructed, so I'm not sure.
Well, I'm wondering, prove me wrong. I could be, but there's a chance one of those TIE fighters is still at range 2.
Right, but you need to be an arc with tactician.
Oh, do you? I'm sorry, I haven't used arc. Tactician all that much.
No worries. It's one of those sort of niche cards in the hands of a good player. It can be very devastating, but it has specific requirements. You have to be in at range exact and also in arc. So it's a very technical card. I can see the appeal on Miranda, but it doesn't look like he's going to get to use it in this initial pass.
So Miranda's using a focus, twin laser turret, shooting on a TIE fighter.
Oh, he's going to spend it for defense. Very interesting. Keeping his academy alive. Of course, he gets another one. 2 crits.
I don't understand why that is. The academy is going to take it. He's going to take 1 damage.
Yep. But, then his entire list is going to fire before Ira gets to do anything. So I can see it. You want to keep your stuff alive. If Jean-Christophe can gun down enough of those ships, that fighter might not take very much return fire at all.
It seems to me like some of the most ironic play ever. The academy pilots seem to last the longest in some of these engagements.
Yeah, sometimes.
When they're used as filler, you just kind of ignore them, and then they can last the entire game because they're just overlooked, and they end up being the heroes sometimes.
There's no better way to 12 points, really. I think that the TIE fighter is my favorite. Just toss it into a squad, let it go to town.
Not even bandits?
Z's are almost the same thing, but I guess I prefer the maneuverability and the spiky chance of better defense.
Sure.
They're both solid choices. I think they're about equal. My personal preference is a TIE.
Sure.
If I'm just going to drop 12 points of something in, I love a TIE fighter. We're already starting to see some nasty damage come out.
So it looks like TIE fighters in
Crackshot
in the upper left-hand corner taking a shot on a Y-wing with Crackshot.
Two more dice this way.
Oh, goodness. That Y-wing would take a pounding.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is what this list does. It is just a brutal alpha strike. It's coming in. He's rolling hot. He's not rolling a lot of blanks. He's got crack shots. I fully expect to see some serious damage go on to Ira this turn. Not what he wants to see.
Y-wing is being punished.
Well, that's that brutal, Stressbot Y-wing. He wants that out of there because it's so effective. This is what Paul Beaver's opponent would love to. James Beaver, round 1, would have loved to have been able to do. Ace this thing out and take it out of the game before it just drowned stress tokens.
Sure. Now this is a rare opportunity in which that Y-wing got range 3 with an obstruction, so he got to roll 2 extra dice.
Yeah.
You don't get to see that often, and he just barely.
That's the beauty of Crackshot. Even though that Y-wing rolled amazing defense, Crackshot let him alpha strike that thing into oblivion, and Ira is behind the 8 ball. He hasn't gotten to play the game yet.
First blood goes to Jean-Christophe.
Yep.
Takes out a major pain in his potential tailpipes here with Gold Squadron Y-wing target twin laser turret BTL and R3A2 taking a dive before it even gets a shot.
And a supreme opening for Jean-Christophe. Going to have a huge advantage by taking out a quarter of Ira's list before the game really even started.
Quarter? I think it's a fifth. Maybe it's a quarter.
That point-wise, that Gold Squad, 26 points, more than a quarter.
You're right.
I mean, it's one of 5 ships. It was one of his best ships.
I was looking at number of ships, not what they're worth. I'm a visual person. I'm a graphic designer.
Well, there you go. Some decent defense rolls for Jean-Christophe, too, so looking like these ties are going to be a tough to take down.
Looks like Academy Tie is taking the brunt of this awful attack.
Surviving, ridiculous level of survivability on.
If he can block too,
he's rolling hot dice.
Now Academy is going to get a chance to shoot anybody.
I don't think that that's a rough first round because I don't believe Ira's going to kill a single ship, and he's lost one. That Academy is going to be, who knows how many more shots it'll take to take down, because every one's a fresh turn. Sitting behind 3 dice and a focuser and evasion, they're hard to crack. That's why I like Academy tie over the Bandit. The Bandit may have more average survivability, but that Academy tie's got the chance to just do wonders for you.
Well, so
of course, it can go down in flames too.
We got a TIE fighter taking 2 damage from a lucky range 1 shot.
Coming back, but it has no. That Academy used focus survived, but didn't get to capitalize on it. But still, Jean-Christophe has got to be happy with that. He's traded 8 damage for 4 damage, and all of his ships are still on the board. I think it's going to be a tough hole for Ira to climb out of. He's going to really have to capitalize on Miranda.
And Miranda needs to get in the fight here and put herself in a better position to use that tactician twin laser turret opportunity.
She is going to be able to swing around and have a pretty good vector for the future, but yeah, that was a real blow. That was a real blow to Ira's control potential. He's got, half of his stress capability just got wiped off the board.
Back to planning phase. Probably the most important step in this game.
Oh, certainly.
Deciding where you're gonna go, if you're gonna be able to outmaneuver. Your initiative too, your pilot skill plays heavily on the decisions you make. Who is going to move before you in these maneuvers? Those bandits are in a distinct disadvantage. They have to move first inside of this just cluster of TIE fighters coming at them.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Oftentimes, those bandits make excellent blockers, but in this case, it's actually, I think, going to give Jean-Christophe the advantage because they're going to have to move first. There's not a lot of places to go without bumping, and then those TIEs should have a pretty clear run to cage or to do whatever they want to do.
Got a question there in Twitch land. What upgrades does Miranda have? She's flying really, really light. She's only flying with the twin laser turret and tactician. Not using any of the secondary weapon slots she has, not using the bomb slots she has. She is just flying as a twin laser turret platform, trying to position herself to do stress to anybody she can get in her primary firing arc with those twin laser turrets.
And I think what we're seeing here is a very interesting thing. We're seeing a list that Ira has constructed, knowing what the strong archetypes are out there. The strong archetypes that you run across often, you'll see double aggressors, the so-called brobots. You'll see the Emperor Palpatine in a shuttle and Sunterfell and Darth Vader or a Phantom or what have you. And what Ira has is a squad that's beautiful to take that down, but that doesn't necessarily have the best matchup against a traditional swarm. And that's the thing about teching too heavily towards one particular element of what's out there, is you end up with a list that is maybe not well-rounded against other boards. I don't think that's an impossible matchup for Ira, but he does come with, a little bit behind the 8-ball, because he's got lower skill almost all the ships. He's got few attack dice. His control isn't as strong because there's just too many enemy targets. He's last, bad matchup for his build, and it just goes to show how difficult it is in this tournament, not knowing what you're going to face. With so many strong lists out there, it's really difficult to take on all.
Now, we discussed a little bit how the TIE Swarm is a predator of a list that has not needed to evolve an awful lot to stay effective throughout 7 waves of play.
Yep.
Is there a list out there, not the type form, that is fairly well-rounded and can handle large ships, can handle swarms, can handle stress? Is there something out there that the rebels can use counter?
I think that there is. I think Paul is expertly constructed this year. We saw that round 1. He's got a little bit of everything. He's not committing too hard to any one strategy. He does have the BTL A4 Y-Wing in there, same exact setup for control, but he also has a teched out Poe, and Poe is very survivable and puts out a lot of hurt. Poe would be a great ship to have on the board against this swarm. I still think that Paul's list would have this TIE Swarm with Jean Christophe's, but then again, almost any list would have trouble. This is a strong list, but I think Paul's list could beat it. I think very well played Brat's list could beat it. It would be all about, absolutely all about, maneuvering at that point. Corn probably it. I mean, but the thing is, there's no list in the game sees TIE fighters like this across the table and thinks it's going to be an easy win. Mm-hmm. I suspect that the Black Squadron ties with Crackshot are a pretty decent answer to the high agility and untouchability of IG-2000s.
Sure.
Because TIE Swarm struggles against them often because they have so much defense.
Right.
With Crackshot in play, you can really try that out to drop one off the board. So I think Jean Christophe actually has that rarest beast all-comers list. There's going to be some matchups that are better and worse, but there should be anything that anyone puts down across from him that can't beat this tournament.
So we just saw some Bandit Squadron pilots attempt to fly in again at 4 TIE Fighter Swarm. They did the bumping, didn't actually move anywhere of note, so they were able to move after the initial Academy pilot.
Well, look, those ties have yet to move because those are all, I believe, those are all squad ties. So the Bandit will bump, and then we will see what the rest of Jean Christophe's list has done, because he at this job only his Academy tie.
So those TIE fighters are gonna turn to try to engage Miranda, which is bold. It's a very decisive move, but they are opening themselves up to undefended fire from those Bandit Squadron pilots. In a gambit, pile on the damage on Miranda.
This is very interesting. It seems like he's carefully analyzed the threats to this, taking them out one by one. First the Stressbot Y-Wing, and now Miranda. He's got very few places to go. We'll see if Slam comes into play. If he picks a high-speed maneuver, it's possible that a Slam may be able to get him out of this jam. We'll see how it's. The ring, of course, coming from behind. Excellent choreographed formation flying here. Beautiful thing to watch, really.
But as we see this second wave TIE Fighters maneuver, they're putting themselves in an awesome position. Just amazing position to flank those.
This is a beautiful move.
This is gonna wreck. Just wreck. 1, maybe 2 ships just now.
So we're going to see what Miranda does. If he wanted a turn followed by a 3 Slam, he might be able to slip out of at least some of those TIE Fighters' arcs. But it's also possible he zigs to the right and just plays the range game. Very interesting. The last thing he wants is 4 TIE Fighters just picking him apart, though. He's got some regeneration, but not the same way that like a Corran Horn or Dash with an R2D. Got some regeneration, but he cannot weather sustained firepower of that magnitude.
Oh gosh, it's so hard to work those quotes in sometimes. We do it expertly.
He did do a fast maneuver. I suspect a Slam might be coming out of the booth here.
If he can Slam 3, he can make it. I believe he can make it out of most of those TIE fighter arcs.
It's a tough choice, though, because he's not going to get any shots if he does that. And sometimes that's enough. That means he's got 3 Z95s, largely, in fact, entirely without actions. It's not.
Oh, he's
not where he wants to be.
He's taken a long time deciding whether or not that's what he wants to do.
It is an important move because the thing is, Jean-Christophe has brought the entire weight of his formation to bear against Miranda. He's ignored these Z95s for the most part. You see the 2 rearguard ties situated to shoot him if he does do a slam, and the ones in front are poised to shoot him if he doesn't. So it's he's decided all guns on Miranda. He's very methodical. He's like Y-wing dies.
He's doing it.
Then the K-wing dies.
Oh, I love it. I think he does get out of arc.
He does.
Of the rightmost 2 TIE fighters.
I think that was the right thing to do because I think what we have possible. He might be out of range of those rearmost TIE fighters, and he's certainly out of arc of many of those TIE fighters. So I think that was absolutely the right play.
It looks like the TIE fighters are going to take a lot of shots on them.
But a big hit against this Z95. And, of course, Crackshot's still active. Because he's going to use it.
Z95 is going to take 2 shields off if it hasn't been touched yet.
Yep. So, good hit from the start. Is he in range or just out?
Now those TIE fighters have no shots. It's all.
Wow, good slam from Miranda. She got out of
perfect.
Every single firing arc.
Now it's time for the Z95s to capitalize.
Excellent play by Ira.
So range 1, that was 3 hits. That TIE fighter is going to take 1 damage.
Yep. Yeah, that's a rough turn for Jean-Christophe because he was expecting to have at least a couple shots on Miranda, but that slam is so deceptively powerful. You don't always need it, but when you do, you are happy to have it.
So let's talk about how the slam actually works. You pick a maneuver during your initial maneuver phase.
Yep.
Any speed, as long as it isn't a red. And then, as long as you have an available action, you can choose to use the slam action, which allows you to take an entirely new maneuver of the same speed.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be the same maneuver. It could be hard, it could be soft, it could be straight. So you're essentially doubling down on the distance you can travel across board.
Yeah, like Boost, it is an extremely powerful repositional ability. You do lose the shots for it, but as you can see, he was able to kite Jean-Christophe's entire list.
Because that is an important thing to remember, is that when you decide to use that slam action, you also have to throw down a token that completely disallows primary and secondary weapons fire. So no turrets.
You've rerouted all of your energy into that engine.
You can still drop bombs, however.
You can. You absolutely can.
If you have something called the advanced slam that we can get into another time. But that is something that I love about this slam is that you can make very important decisions to run out and get out of the way of incoming fire if you have to.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to keep up with a ship that can double its speed of any particular maneuver and use the full range of maneuvers available at that speed. You can start drifting left, jink right.
Absolutely.
If you have that hard turn available, you can practically do 180 U-turns.
It's a very powerful ability, and I'm guessing Ira's wishing he had a proton bomb or two for this matchup. It's always funny, what you wish that you could. You kind of wish you had like a sideboard or some way that you could, shuffle in the things that you need for when those really nasty matchups happen. Because he really doesn't have any anti-swarm tech in his build, and he's struggling for that reason. But full slam move there, bought himself some time. Put a little bit of damage out, and forced Jean-Christophe to chase him all over the map, which is not what Jean-Christophe wants to do. So I wonder if Jean-Christophe will continue this strategy of chasing Miranda, or if he's going to try to turn around and deal with those Z95s at this juncture.
Ira Myers has put Jean-Christophe in a very, very interesting and difficult position. Do you commit to taking out a ship loaded with points, a very attractive target, and expose the rear ends of your entire fleet to 3 ships relatively unimpeded, or do you split up and try to defend yourself and let Miranda slip away? I don't know what the right decision would be in this situation, because
I think at this point he tried to catch Miranda in a trap. He tried to start working on her, but the slam has put him in a tough situation. I think if I were in Jean-Christophe's shoes, I would turn around and deal with those Z's.
Okay.
Miranda has such weak offense. She's probably going to plot a 3-speed to get out of there. She's going to have to be dealt with eventually, but he can't afford to chase her all over the map while those Z's get unanswered firepower. And I think that those ties can put those Z's in the ground very, very quickly. So that would be my move. We'll see what Jean-Christophe does. He may have, he's one of the best players in the world. He may have his own fantastic plan cooking under the hood there that we don't even know about yet. But that's what I would do if I was in his shoes.
This is a really great opportunity for Ira, because at one point he was positioning himself to get pincered, and now he's in a position to lay that very same pincer maneuver on those TIE fighters.
Absolutely.
Whatever Jean-Christophe does, he has to fully commit. I don't think splitting his forces in either direction is going to help him at all. I think he either needs to go track Miranda down or completely turn around with a series of choreograms and hard turns and just deal with the Z95s at his back.
I fully agree. I think chasing Miranda with a couple of ties is a bad idea, because he can regen with her, he can slam away with her. She is very slippery. Despite being this gigantic, cumbersome looking ship, it's actually a very hard, with a slow dial, slow and poor dial. That slam changes the equation completely.
We have this Academy pilot attempting to make a sharp turn maneuver, ramming into his friend in the Black Squadron, not getting much of anywhere. I think, however, that was an intentional move to help gum up the center.
I think so.
And make it difficult for those Z95s to maneuver around.
And you see this Z doing a choreogram to try to get some guns on to block things up. Those ties function best when they're on...
Is that a choreogram or straight through?
Oh, maybe he just went straight through.
I'm really curious what the motivation was for that.
It's interesting to preserve and keep him alive longer, perhaps.
I don't know. I would have done an easy maneuver into that mess. Try to close ranks as close as possible. Yeah, lose my action, but I still want an opportunity to shoot on TIE fighters.
The trouble with Ira's list is he shoots dead last.
Right.
So if he doesn't survive, there's not going to be a shot anyway.
Sure.
I think that the ship came out and his sole job is to gum up the works. He's going to try to use Miranda to finish off those damaged ties. And if he can do that, he's going to start evening the odds. I mean, he's down a ship, he's down some points. It's not going to be easy to recover from, but he's playing a great game. Despite that opening exchange, he's got some tricks up his sleeve, and he's going to make this into a real match.
That's some good speculation from some of our listeners out there, our typers out there on Twitch. Maybe the idea was for that straight maneuver on the Z95 to counter a potential K-turn on some of these TIE fighters. I think that's a good idea, and it looks like that concept has proven at least somewhat accurate. If all these TIE fighters decide to, they're still going to get a shot on those on that Z95 that tried to get away. Also,
one of our listeners and watchers has just pointed out that the Z95 does not have access to a 4 choreograph turn, so he only has 3 choreograph, which would not have cleared that clump of ties.
Oh, sure.
So if he wanted to break through the mess, he had to do a straight, and it looks like he's going to have a range 1 shot on that tie anyway. So I think Ira certainly knew what he was doing with that maneuver. The ties have fanned out, trying to spread their arcs around and get as many shots as they can. And this is where you sort of separate the cream of the crop from the rest, because Jean-Christophe is an excellent player, but he has to play dial for every single one of those fighters. And every single one of those TIE fighters has to move in such a way that is advantageous to itself, and that doesn't block the rest of his squad, and that anticipates Ira Meyer's moves. It's no mean feat, and he's going to have to do this for 6 more games today. This and the next 5, you can see why a good TIE Swarm player really has to be on the top of his game. Not an easy list to fly by any means. It's a powerful list, but it is a very tactical list as well. And he's got a lot of parts to go with.
So we saw this beautiful formation of TIE fighters kind of split apart. Each of them seems to be taking positions to address a slightly different problem. I'm just a little worried that none of them are going to be extremely effective in damage output, and that we may see 1 or 2 of them take damage or even die this round for that repositioning effort.
Ira really bought himself a chance with his maneuvers last turn, and in this turn, in fact. He's playing very, very well. You can see why Ira is such a good player. He's not giving up. He's playing every turn to the best of his ability. Jean-Christophe rolling very well on the defense, not what he needs to see. We got the second twin laser turret coming in. He's going to spend a shield to up his damage. A brave move, but he needs to kill these TIEs. Needs to kill these TIEs. So Miranda using her pilot ability to lay on the offense. And it was a good choice because he nailed that TIE. It won't get a shot back. So good play from Ira there. Very good play. Did cost him a shield, but remember, he can regen that shield with an attack in a future round. But I think Ira has really bought himself a chance at this game. Absolutely fantastic flying on his part.
Now, with only a 27-point deficit, that is not enough to make any sort of prediction.
Can't get complacent. You absolutely can't get complacent, especially when you have a power piece like Miranda on the board. She's not built to the max, but she's still a much better ship than any single one of those TIE fighters.
A named pilot of this sort is going to have some kind of advantage against barracks.
Absolutely.
And especially a named pilot like Miranda that can add to her offensive output by choice or add to defensive sustainability by choice is very strong.
Absolutely. Jean-Christophe is now going to start just throwing dice, and that's how TIE Swarms work. You throw enough of them, and some of them go through.
We're not seeing an awful lot of effective shooting by these TIE fighters. Well, there's
a decent roll.
There's a hit and a crit against Miranda. It looks like range 2.
Starting work on her. It's going to be a long road, but...
Whoa, where'd that dice go?
Looks like it's just going to roll a new one. She got an evade, though, so she's only going to be down a shield. Both players have clearly won some fancy dice in previous tournaments. Dice and templates all look like prizes from previous nationals, regionals, worlds.
Spoils of Star Wars.
And they paid the iron price for those, too, because the only way to get those is to win one of our tournaments or place highly enough, at least.
Whoa, Star Wars doesn't have iron. They have plastisteel. What are you talking about?
That's true. They earned those. They earned them. And another TIE goes down.
Another TIE fighter bites the dust. This is starting to landslide Jean-Christophe here.
The last 2 turns have been really bad for Jean-Christophe. He started out strong, but this is not what he wants to see. He really needs to do work on those Z's, and he did not get the dice rolls that he needed.
We've only got 11 deficit. That is 1 TIE fighter.
And then he's got another TIE fighter that's on the verge of death.
Maybe one TIE fighter and wing of another one.
Yep.
Not a huge deficit for Ira to make up. if he can fly conservative with those Z95s, close the kill box on some of these TIE fighters that are stressed and will have to make predictable movements just to clear that stress, that might be Ira's advantage. Meanwhile, Miranda is flying in the outside, hardly being harassed.
Absolutely.
And quite capable of healing any damage that came down to her and circling back in and going on the offensive.
Ira's gonna need to keep playing at the top of his game, and Jean-Christophe's gonna need a better round to start bringing this back into his favor. I think you can see the power of that slam maneuver. Jean-Christophe lost an entire round of shooting effectively when he went after Miranda and she slipped away.
Lost an entire round of shooting and lost about a fifth of his list.
Eventually, yeah, he didn't pay for it that round, but this round he was able to. He wasn't able to hang on to those green dice forever. So he really needs to start. He really needs to start thinking about what his end game is. He might need to adopt a new strategy here.
I would love to see him try and consolidate his TIE fighters back into a loose formation and start concentrating fire on Talas. I don't think he's going to have a very successful time going after Miranda at all with her sustainability and her ability to speed up and out of the way. I think Jean-Christophe needs to close the gap. Well, there is no gap. We're at an even 73 squad points remaining split. It is anybody's game.
I think actually Ira started at 99.
They both did.
They both started at 90. No, Jean-Christophe's at 100. So actually, technically, at this very juncture, Ira's up by a single point because he's got 15 plus 12, 27 points destroyed versus 26 points destroyed.
Excellent.
So, but really, it's dead even at this point. And unfortunately for Jean-Christophe, he's letting his advantage slip away.
Of the ships that Ira still has up, two of those bandits are full health. Miranda's only got 2 shields gone, and the other bandit, there's no hull damage on it. He's still a viable threat. If Ira can fly unpredictably and potentially gum up movements and maneuvers for those TIE fighters that don't get to move yet, that could be a real problem for Jean-Christophe maneuvering his TIE swarm back into place and concentrating any kind of fire.
Absolutely. But Ira still has some strong advantages here. He really does. I mean, rather, Jean-Christophe does. Jean-Christophe has higher pilot skill. He's got a number of crack shots still up. If he can just get one decent round of shooting where the dice are solid for him, and he can drop some of these E95s, he can tilt things back into his favor.
Oh, I love seeing flying like that you get so close, but you just make it and you can still take your action.
Ira is certainly not going down easy, by no means.
And he is. He is playing a little bit more difficult and unpredictably with these Z95s here, using that last Z95 as a screen potentially.
Again, these are two of the absolute best players in the world. So their games are not ever going to be particularly one-sided unless something goes really, really wrong. These are almost always close games. A lot of skill on both sides.
You folks out there in internet land, on Twitch, watching this streaming online, you're in for a real treat if you stay tuned. This is round 3 of FFG's Worlds 2015 X-Wing tournament. We've seen a lot of interesting and fantastic play so far, and we're not done yet. We're going to have 8 rounds today of play, followed by tomorrow a cut to the top 16, then to the top 8, and then finally the World's finals, the top 2 players in the list. We don't know who it's going to be. I don't even think I have a real prediction of what it's going to be.
There's so many strong players and so many strong lists, it's anybody's guess at this point. And it looks like Jean-Christophe is just doubling down on his Chase Miranda strategy. That is a risky move, but he is committed to it.
Well, he has to take Miranda out to gain any sort of point advantage.
At some point, Miranda has to go down, but he is letting these Z95s off the hook. They're going to be able to shoot relatively unimpeded while he chases Miranda. It's going to be an interesting game.
I just hope that Jean-Christophe doesn't lose 2 TIE fighters for that gambit.
Well, the most that he can lose is 1 because, of course, Twin Laser Turret has to have both attacks on the same target.
Oh, I'm also trying to consider though the damage those Z95s.
Very true. That's very true.
Because
they're all that's some focused range 1 attacks from those Zs that he basically allowed to happen by doing this the strategy the way he's done it. It's a big risk. If it pays off and he takes Miranda out, he's going to be in business. But if it doesn't work, it may cost him the game.
Miranda can do a lot of good here by shooting at one of these TIE fighters. One of the Z95s has at range 1, loosen them up a little bit, make them an easier shot.
It's unclear whether Miranda's going to be able to hit the last remaining. Wow, he's rolling.
That's
well.
a hit. That's 1 hit for sure.
And finish him off though.
On a TIE fighter that is inside 2 range 1 arcs of the chasing Z95s.
Damage and without any tokens. That is a very risky. Oh man, that's a tough call. He's going to spend it because he knows that he's got a good target, even though. Is he going to crack shot? Nope. Jean-Christophe needs some better rolls here. Not what he needed.
That puts a crit, it looks like.
He's going to spend that focus.
He's gonna spend the focus.
Good call. Ira can't afford to let damage through. He's still behind in raw hit points.
Those results are not going to kill bandits.
Not what Jean-Christophe needs.
Sorry,
nope.
Jean. It's
nope.
not working for you.
Miranda's going to spend that focus to survive. Ira playing very conservatively, like I think you have to at this point. Finally, a decent roll. 2 damage. So Miranda is starting to get chipped away. But is it going to be fast enough? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I believe Miranda just lost 2 shields, one of which she could bring back next round if she's very, very conservative. And meanwhile, these Z95s are going to have a field day with a couple of range 1 shots.
Yeah, they are unmolested. And here's the thing, if he doesn't shoot the Zs, they don't have to spend their focus on defense.
That's a dead TIE fighter.
Yep. I really think that pursuing Miranda it could very well cost Jean-Christophe this game.
I didn't envy Jean-Christophe's choice when he eventually had to make it, who to go after. That's not a bad trade right there.
No, but here's the thing. Now it's 4-4 in terms of ship count, and Irish better. Irish ships are better.
The advantage just shifted. No matter what the points say, the damage output advantage shifted to the Rebels easily this round.
Absolutely. Well, it's been Jean-Christophe had a glorious opening, but every subsequent round has been just tough to watch for him to see. Forces slowly depleted, and the more guys go down, the harder it's going to be for him to chasing like he's been doing. At any point, Miranda can bug off with that slam. We're seeing the value of that K-wing in this match. Really, that K-wing is really singing.
It's a weird looking ship. You don't see it in the packaging or on the Starfield thing. That thing's got a lot of teeth.
Oh yeah.
You don't really think that, and you don't think, oh wow, that guy's really fast. Those are not some of the thoughts I had initially when I saw the model, but we've seen enough play just in these 4 or 5 rounds now to justify giving it another look, if only for the slam option. Holy cow. Normally TIE fighters are the fastest ships on the board, bar any interference from A-wings or interceptors or TIE Phantoms, but this K-wing is in a race with TIE fighters and has so far outclassed it. Plus, they're trying to shoot at something with 3 times the health that any one of those TIE fighters has.
And a much nastier gun at range 3. Range 3 shots are rough on those TIEs because Miranda gets her defense, but returns fire with 2, range 3 twin laser turret attacks. The TIEs don't get an extra agility die. They're very fragile. She just needs to circle around and chip away.
The game isn't over for Jean-Christophe. He's got 4 TIE fighters left. They are still dangerous. They're still effective if they can consolidate and start putting consistent damage on the targets they go after. Really, though, who those targets are is a big question. It looks like we've got a choreogrammed turn here.
Well, we're going to see if Jean-Christophe sticks to his strategy and he rockets forward to take out Miranda. At some point, you don't really have a choice. I think that point may have been reached already. Like, if he had turned into those Zs many rounds ago, he could have gotten them off the board and moved on. But at this point, he may have committed too hard to this Miranda strategy. He may not have a choice. Because if he turns to fight the Z95s now, Miranda regens all her shields, plinks away at the TIEs from a distance, and in the late game is an absolute nightmare to deal with.
Unfortunately, I think Miranda's a lost cause. I don't see that strategy proving out at all.
But he's spent the last 3 turns pursuing it, so if he changes it up now, he's in some serious trouble. It's tough. It's a tough choice.
It'll really just depend on where TIE Fighter number 3 and number 4, both Black Squadron pilots, end up with 2 Z95s kind of clogging the field in front of them.
I wonder if TIE Fighter number 1 is going to try to do Z interdiction duty. It does look like these TIEs are gunning for Miranda. If he gets some good dice and takes out the K-Wing, he's going to be in really good shape. But if it continues to slip through his net, he's all in. He's all in on this strategy.
The thing is that it's all or nothing now. Ira, though, has a significant advantage in Miranda with that slam ability.
Oh wow, he's not even going for the Zs. He did a 5 straight with his stress tie. He's saying forget it. I'm giving up on the Zs. All guns on Miranda. That's it.
This was what I was worried about. Bank 3.
If he does a slam here, he gets out of all the arcs and he's got no return fire.
And that is a perfect setup for those Z95s. I would be surprised if he didn't use the slam right now.
I would too. I think it's a no-brainer slam at this point. He's probably deciding what slam maneuver to use. If he sticks it out, I will be very surprised. Nope, there it is, the slam.
Bank 3.
As anticipated.
He avoids 2, maybe 3. At most, he'll have 1 TIE fighter still in that cluster or 3 with a range 3 shot, maybe a range 2. It's a little hard to tell from this camera angle here. But at most, he'll get 2 shots, long distance, stressed out, not reinforced. Yeah. Miranda's sitting pretty, and those Z5s do not have a better opportunity to do uncontested damage.
It's interesting. This is the first big tournament, the second big tournament after Nationals that we've seen the K-Wing on the table, and it's possible that Jean-Christophe just doesn't have a lot of experience flying against Slam, and how incredibly slippery that makes that ship. I think that certainly the first Slam maneuver caught him by surprise. This one, Also, he doesn't get to shoot with Miranda, but those Z's, again, in the backfield, chasing those ties.
Miranda just took a direct hit.
That is going to change the flavor here.
3 damage on Miranda in 1 round. 1 round of shooting from a TIE fighter. Not
too shabby.
Not so bad. Not so bad. Jean Christophe is still in this if he can put consistent damage on that K-Wing that's running away.
Absolutely. If he drops Miranda, he's got a shot at this.
Because the K-Wing can't shoot back.
Nope.
That was a side effect.
But the Z's can do work, although he's going to need those Z's to actually do damage if he's going to come out the better of this round. Still anybody's game. Very, very interesting game.
Darn straight you're going to convert those focus.
And that Ty needs a good defense roll.
Not happening there.
Takes him down. See, that's the thing. This is what we're seeing round after round. He's going to put a few damage on Miranda, and maybe even Miranda into slamming and not getting a shot. But uncontested and unanswered Z95s are free to just do what they do best. You can't ignore them. They might just be little 12-point 2-dice ships, but at range 1, they hit like an X-wing.
Yep.
They hit like
hard.
like any other 3-dice ship. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing him chase the wing and get just murdered by these Z's in the rear.
Given the layout of the setup as the game was starting, in Jean Christophe's seat, what would you have done different?
I think he turned and dealt with those Z95s. He was on the where he moved his list to engage Miranda. That, I think, may be the turn that he lost the game.
Okay.
Because that is he got 2 shots. He got uncontested shot at from those Z95s. I think a better play would have been accept that Miranda's going to be throwing damage at you. Just accept it's going to happen. There's not a lot you can do about it. Destroy the Z95s and then bring him to an end game that's like 5 ties versus 1 Miranda.
Well, and it's not easy.
She doesn't have the offense to bring you down fast enough at that point. But you may not kill her, but you don't need to. You just need to keep her engaged, keep her slamming, denying her shots. Because if you're chasing Miranda and she's slamming away and she's the last ship on the board, she's not accomplishing anything.
Nope.
If she's leading on this chase around the board, while these Z95s are blasting, she's accomplishing a lot, even if she never shoots.
Right. I would have even Ira completely sacrificing a Miranda to let those Z95s get those shots.
Ira has played this absolutely the right way. He came back from a really brutal exchange, and he has played very, very.
I don't know that I predicted it quite going that way for him.
I'm surprised. As soon as when Ira lost that gold in the opening pass, I really thought this was Jean Christophe's game, but I don't think he's got it. I don't think Jean Christophe can pull this one off, even if he drops Miranda. Even if he drops Miranda, he's got 3 Z95s to deal with. Possible. He needs to take Miranda out on the next pass. He really does.
The thing is that those Z95s are ideally placed to always be behind those TIE fighters. They can always get their nose.
Absolutely. He's got great board position.
So even if he keeps ramming them or running into them, running into himself, he's got lots and lots of position advantage.
And Ira's been free to K-turn without penalty, and he's always had focus for his attacks because he's not being challenged. He's not having to defend himself. Those Z95s are given totally free reign, and you can see how deadly they can be when they're just left to devices like this.
And there's nothing special about them. Generic. They don't have great maneuverability in dials. They don't have great options for actions. They can only target lock focus, but they can be a real menace if you leave them alone.
We are seeing Jean Christophe really just hoping he can get this K-Wing taken care of. I wonder if it might be time for the K-Wing to make a stand. I guess the other advantage that Ira has is he can see where every single one of the ties is before he decides whether to or not. And as we know, that's a huge, huge advantage, that high pilot skill. It's one of the reasons you pay all those points for it.
Well, so Ira still has a problem in that the TIE fighters that are standing, I don't think either or any of them have damage on them. So he's not going to be able to output a lot of damage with Miranda if he takes a stand and lets the twin laser turrets do their work.
It'll depend on how many ships are in arc, because the other thing about denying Miranda a shot is you deny her regeneration abilities.
Right.
I suspect it's going to be another slam turn, though. I think Ira's going to be able to get out of most of the line of fire and let Z's continue to chip away at Jean-Christophe.
Yeah, right now, this is the perfect time for a slam. If she doesn't run into the TIE fighter that just got in front of her, if she can do another bank 3, I think a bank 3 tied with a slam straight 3 is a perfect opportunity for Miranda to get out of the hot seat, put those TIE fighters in the perfect spot to get shot at by some Z95s and end this game very quickly.
You know, even if he doesn't slams, if he just does a soft 3 bank to the left, well, he might be going for a block here.
Oh, I think he sees it coming. He
I don't know. This is going to be interesting. If he pulls this block off, that's going to be very big for him. Very, very big indeed.
I want to see it.
What's he got?
Yeah.
Oh.
The block is there.
Very nice move on Jean-Christophe. Credit where credit is due. That was very well done.
Now we don't have a great angle in this. There's a chance he clears it. I don't know. I don't think so.
I think that's a successful block. This could be where Jean-Christophe rallies. If this block is successful and those TIE fighters kill Miranda, this game gets very, very interesting. This is a big, big turn.
There is a 30-point deficit. Jean-Christophe could bring the game back home if he can eliminate Miranda right now.
Absolutely beautiful block. Really, really nice. And there's not much time remaining, so if Miranda goes down, he's gonna go from up to down. That's 37 points of Miranda.
Miranda only dodges 1.
Ooh. This is Miranda shooting the ties.
This is Miranda shooting the ties. Yep, she's not doing enough damage.
No. She did recover a shield, though, it looks like, because she only threw.
Oh, no. Oh,
that's not what he needs.
That TIE fighter needs to do more than that.
Better.
There's a hit. One's going to go in.
Oh, she is rolling too well. She's rolling too well. Does he have crack shots left? That's the question. I don't think that he does.
Now, does Miranda's ability, can it trigger if she's run into somebody?
Yes, her ability works on the attack.
Okay, so there's a chance she just regened a shield just now.
I believe she did, because I think I saw him roll 2 dice. So that's the other thing with chasing a target like Miranda. Even if you pull off a successful block, you have to count on your dice not failing you.
Yeah.
Because he needed better rolls than that. Especially with these Z's just chipping away and continuing.
Goodness, look at this.
Dropping another crit. Oh, he's got another one. But
that TIE fighter was able to narrowly survive. I don't think that TIE fighter rolled enough dice, though.
Yep. He noticed he only rolled 2, and he added the third one. So that was lucky. But this is still not a great turn for Jean-Christophe. He needed to do more damage to that K-Wing.
Nope, that's not going to cut it.
I don't know. I can't quite tell how much health Miranda has at this point.
We're back to dials. This will be a critical turn for those TIE fighters.
Looks like Miranda has 2 damage.
2 damage.
One of them is a crit. Could be a direct hit. It is a direct hit.
I believe that was a direct hit. So what? She's down to 3 hull? No. She's down to 5 hull left?
K-Wing starts with 5 hull and 4 shields, I want to say. So she's almost dead.
She's only got 2 hull left.
Yeah, she's really.
Wow.
I mean, here's the thing. Like Jean-Christophe could have dropped her that turn if he'd had better rolls. That's the really unfortunate thing. But being able to pull that shield back up, being able to outdistance these ties, that was the turn that Jean-Christophe needed to kill Miranda. I really think so, because I don't think he's going to be able to get her again. She can just go sailing away and let those 3 Z95s fight those 3 TIE fighters. And with not that much time left in the round, I think that he's going to spend the whole game getting agonizingly close to killing Miranda, but not quite pulling it off. That was the turn to do it if it was going to happen.
Right.
It was a beautiful block, but the defense dice that Miranda rolled were really good. She evaded every shot.
I felt so bad calling that block.
Yep.
It just seems so obvious. That's something I try to do whenever I fly, is to be as unpredictable as possible, to keep moving.
It looks like we've got less than 2 minutes left in the round, so really Jean-Christophe is all in on this Miranda strategy. He's got to kill her this round, and I suspect, unfortunately, Ira's going to just be able to 3 straight out of there and then 3 bank wherever he wants. I don't think Miranda's got a big chance of going down.
And those Z95s are going to be in a decent position to harass and maybe even take out another TIE fighter.
They might drop another TIE. They don't even need to at this point.
No, they really don't. Ira's got a pretty clear victory here if he can just keep Miranda out of the mix and get those Z95s into the show and harassing TIE fighters.
She's going to hit that slam, and she's going to be gone.
And that's exactly what those Z95s are going to position to do now.
Block the ties, protect Miranda. She's got very dedicated, very talented wingmen. They've really, really helped her stay alive. Very, very impressive playing on Ira's part. He pulled this one out. He really was behind, and he really, really played masterfully to claw back into the game. Never give up. That's a perfect example. You never give up at X-Wing.
Nope. There are conceivably times when a game goes so wide in one person's direction, or the dice just are cooling you off.
Yep.
And maybe you want to concede, but the higher skill players know that these games they can take so many turns and take some very unpredictable paths to the end.
Absolutely.
And
we've seen some really, the last 2 games we've watched have been really close.
Every game we've seen so far has gone back and forth. We couldn't have predicted who would have won at the beginning. I think we had some ideas in mid-game, our first matchup and our second matchup, but this game has been real swingy.
Absolutely.
In the best of ways, not because rules are inconsistent, not because there's been shady play, but
so
because...
we're going to see if he's going to be able to clear this tie. If he clears this tie, I think he's going to be in business. And it looks like he will.
Oh, here's something really weird, though.
If he lands on that debris cloud, he's not going to be able to slam.
He can't take that action.
Did he touch? We shall see.
I don't think he touched. But can he slam through?
He can. He can. Because he can hit the debris cloud, he can now slam. Because it's a maneuver. In every way, it's a maneuver. Unlike boost, it can take you through, but he's not going to need it. He's going to run a shield. He's going to
stick it out.
He's going to stick it out.
And he's got to shoot after the TIE fighter that's already damaged.
If he can take that TIE fighter down, it's pretty much over for Jean-Christophe. He's also going to be able to bring a shield back. So he's going to go from 2 to 3, and that's going to help keep him in the fight.
He's got it.
Yep, regen to shield.
There's really no way Miranda can go down this round. Unless another direct hit sneaks through on the other side of a shield that gets taken. Nope.
Wow. Brutal.
Of
And that
course,
Z95 just continuing to do work.
You have to convert that.
Do 1 more damage.
Every one of those TIE fighters is smoking a little bit. Got a little bit of a electrical fire sparking outside of those engine cowlings.
Yep, they're not in great shape. And Ira really has the advantage here. He doesn't even have to kill anything. He just has to survive. He can afford to have these rounds where nothing goes through on the ties. I think we're looking at 1 more round, or nope, that's it.
That's the end of the game.
Time's been called, and it's a win for Ira. So close to killing Miranda.
It could have gone either way for quite a long time now. I gotta say, I was rooting for Ira, just because I like guys who are outnumbered, but Miranda was the game changer.
Absolutely.
She dictated the entire of the match.
Absolutely.
From round 3 until now. If it wasn't for those slam extra movement actions, she wouldn't have been able to survive the barrage of TIE fighters. And that was a risky move.
It was.
Jean-Christophe taking
and
all of his focus.
Ironically, it would have paid off for him if Miranda had rolled slightly poorer on her defense dice. Easily could have been a win for Jean-Christophe. Because if it's just 3 ties versus 3 Z's, Jean-Christophe gets a modified win. Miranda had gone down and had a very good chance of going down. Jean-Christophe could have done it. So that game was razor close. Absolutely close. His strategy was all or nothing, and it just didn't quite work out for him, but it could have. It easily could have gotten him the win.
These are the kind of games that this game was meant for. Very close, very hard to pin down, no clear advantage to one person or another. Yep. And some solid gameplay.
Absolutely.
We saw a couple of mistakes here or there with potential maneuver choices, but there were plenty of times where we saw ships bumping each other where it was actually advantageous to do so. Especially for Ira Mare and his Z95s in the beginning.
We saw a couple of masterful blocks on Jean-Christophe's part, as well as that amazing opening formation where he just nuked that Y-wing, took it from full to dead in a single round of combat.
That is 8.
Which was amazing.
That's a health of 8, just being eliminated in 1 round.
It's a heck of an alpha strike.
From 3 ships doing all the attacking.
Crackshot was huge. I think it was really interesting. I think Ira needed to play 100% perfectly to pull that one off, and he needed a little luck. He needed a little luck to recover from that, but he got it. And
the biggest thing to remember is this is also a dice game.
Absolutely.
On top of a game that requires such finesse in the maneuver dials and these decisions coming down to minutiae of points, of degrees of accuracy. For no matter how accurate you can be, getting people perfectly in your arcs or slipping outside of arcs, when you have to shoot at somebody or evade being shot at, you roll dice. And sometimes those dice do not roll your way.
All you can do is have a good plan and hope it pays off. There's a lot of things that you can do to tilt the odds in your favor, but at the end of the day, there is a strong component of luck. And sometimes you're not on the right end of that. We saw that in game 2 as well.
It is, I believe, our sincerest hope that we see more good decisions netting good results and expert flying resulting in fantastic matchups than we ever do someone losing to the unfortunate loss of a dice.
Absolutely, and I think in this game it's pretty clear that Ira deserved that win. That was very well flown. He got those ties to do exactly what he wanted him to do, and he pulled it off by the skin of his teeth, but he pulled it off.
He locked it down. And that also concludes our third round of play today. We're going to take a quick break, but in the meantime, stay tuned. We're going to be doing round 4 next, and we look forward to seeing you in just a few minutes.
See you in a few.
Bye-bye.